We had, at one point, we had 50 police officers responding to the circumstances here at the airport and the surrounding environment. What I'd like to do is thank our partners at the OPP, Commissioner Tom Creek and Chief Marion Demke, because they supported us through the aftermath of the incident by sending officers to support both of our public divisions, 11 and 12 Division in Mississauga. All in all, it was a great response by first responders supporting GTAA and our TSB partners, but it's something that we've practiced and we're well prepared for should this happen again going forward.
Mississauga Fire and Communications Services received the 911 call. It's called a crash alarm, so we get it directly from Pearson into our communications center. So we had a very quick response. We had 6 apparatus from Mississauga Fire respond. It was a combination of aerials, engines, and squads. In addition, we sent our command vehicle and also a tanker. We also had an acting platoon chief, a district chief, and myself that attended the scene. I took a position within their emergency operations center. Just to reiterate what Deputy just said, annually our firefighters participate in joint training with Pearson Fire at a location called Festi. It's a training facility. Our primary response is to assist with water supply, search and rescue, rehab, and medical support. The Mississauga Fire and Emergency Services and Mississauga Office of Emergency Management participates in 2 annual emergency exercises that are held at Toronto Pearson International Airport each year, including a high-level tabletop command exercise and a full-scale boots-on-the-ground emergency exercise. In addition to the exercises conducted each year, the City of Mississauga conducts its own functional emergency exercise, and we did that in 2021, examining an aircraft accident occurring within the City of Mississauga. This exercise included partners from various organizations, including those represented in the exercises held here regularly at Pearson. The Mississauga Fire and Emergency Services and OEM provides emergency management training to regional partners from various organizations who may be involved in the response to an aircraft accident, amongst other emergencies. The Mississauga Office of Emergency Management can also serve as a conduit between the city and the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre if provincial-wide coordination for the response and recovery of community impacts during an emergency is required. During an aircraft accident, the Mississauga Office of Emergency Management can assist in the coordination of providing municipal services if requested by our community partners who may be impacted in the event. This could include transportation like buses, facilities, or heavy equipment. The City of Mississauga has developed its own aircraft accident emergency plan, which conforms with and operates in conjunction to the airport emergency plan developed by the Greater Toronto Airport Authority.
Thanks. That was a fulsome response.
I just also wondered if anyone can speak to the nature of some of the injuries.
Do you want to speak to some of the nature?
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Tkach. I'm a commander of operations within Peel Regional Paramedic Services. So upon our arrival of the crash site, our staff were faced with a multitude of different injuries, mainly stemming from back sprains, head injuries, anxiety, some headaches, nausea and vomiting due to the fuel exposure. So those were the common sort of injuries that we had come across.
Any more questions?
Please, Mal Hamidi, Canadian Press. Just want to follow up on this rescue effort. Can you please provide some details on the timeline? How long did you, I mean, paramedics and firefighters did it take for them to get to the airplane, and how long did it take for them to evacuate the airplane?
Okay, Todd, you want to take that?
Yeah, the response from Toronto Pearson Fire Emergency Services was minutes. Because there is an active investigation, we won't be able to provide the details, but it was a very quick response from Fire Emergency Services as well as our response partners that just spoke.
Can you please also comment on the role that flight attendants played in evacuating the airplane? We saw some videos on social media where basically doing their job, helping passengers get off the plane. Can you please comment on their role in this?
Sure, absolutely. We train for such events. We're very well prepared and trained, and the firefighters responded textbook. They were able to knock down the fire. They're able to assist the passengers getting off the plane, and then performing triage and then response to the hospitals.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, I'm Alex Miller with Scripps News. I know you can't confirm what you saw on the runway, but can you confirm that the runway had been coded as fives across the board as a wet runway for the pilots, which is a runway with light snow or slush?
I don't know if I followed that question. Do you want to answer, or do you want to repeat it? Did you get it?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, because there is an active investigation, that will have to be directed towards the Transport Safety Board, please.
Hi, Jessica Murphy, BBC News. I want to go back to something Mr. Andrews said. You talked about difficult conditions that rescuers faced on the ground. I'm hoping you could go into a bit more detail.
Sorry, with who said? Sorry?
BBC. Oh,
No, sorry, you...
Peel Regional Police.
Peel Regional Police?
Thank you for that question. The conditions that I was speaking of is the environmental conditions, the cold, the wind, the fact that we were still having the occasional snow, but those are conditions again that we're used to working in as first responders, and our people, along with the other first responders, did a tremendous job of responding in those conditions. It's part of the environment that we operate in.
Megan Fitzpatrick from CBC News. What can you tell us about the child that was airlifted to sick kids? Do we know if the child was on somebody's lap or buckled in? What can you tell us about the nature of their injuries?
No, we don't. I'm sorry.
You don't know if the child
Do
was
not
on a
know.
lap?
No, we don't have those details.
Can you give us an age range of the passengers on the plane?
We don't have that either. I would direct that to Delta.
We're going to take two more questions.
Okay.
And just one more. Of the two that are in hospital, is one of them the child?
We're not sure either.
I have a quick question for fire. Did fire responders fear the spread of the fire, and can you speak to the properties of jet fuel? How flammable is it? How much time did that give you to tame it?
Okay. Did you hear the question? Okay. It's on the jet fuel, like whether they were...
Yes. Upon arrival, there was jet fuel and there was flames. We do have specialized aircraft rescue firefighting equipment that carries water, foam, and dry chem, and that it is utilized to smother and cover up the jet fuel to provide mean-free egress for the passengers. So we do have the appropriate equipment and the appropriate training to mitigate that emergency.
Okay, we'll take the last question.
Just like a last question on the nature of the injuries. The people who were more seriously injured, those who were at one point in critical condition, what type of injuries were those? Are we talking about like broken bones, serious sprains?
I think the paramedic did speak to that a bit, but he can come back and reiterate.
Yeah. So on the initial assessment in any mass casualty incident, we do a triage of patients. And yes, some patients were deemed to be critical at that time. And we make that assessment based on our initial contact, what the patient's complaining of, the fact that they were involved in a plane crash. And some of those determinations happen quite quickly in the short amount of time that we spend with that patient to ensure that they're receiving the quickest care possible. And there are times when further care occurs and those conditions get downgraded, so from critical to like serious and non-life-threatening. There are times in scenarios like this where somebody may be complaining of like abdominal pain or a head injury, and we may err on the side of caution to deem them critical because we can't see inside their skull, we can't see inside their abdomen, but based on some of their vital signs and other determining factors, that's when sort of the decision to make them a critical patient would have occurred.
So in terms of like the acuity of injuries, perhaps the key would be that like the back sprain or the head injury possible.
Yeah, a head injury from an acuity state is obviously very dangerous. The issue is we obviously can't see inside the head at that time, right? So.
Well, thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate it. I really thank all the responders as well for their time to come today and explain the situation on the ground. We will continue to give more updates on operations, Toronto Pearson, but from this going forward now, it is an active investigation, and we can expect hopefully to hear some news from investigators. Thank you.